I would like just to try to very, very quickly sum up what we've heard today. I think incredibly usefully we've heard a lot about why the energy transition is not going as fast as we would like it to. Several speakers spoke about not just fossil fuel subsidies and the fact that there's never supposedly enough money for renewables, but also always somehow enough money for fossil fuel subsidies, not least in the G20. But also things like market structures, supply chains, structures that were built for a fossil fuel economy. It was never going to be quick to overturn them. The new volatility of geopolitics and populism, in particular the trade tensions that I think, you know, as we've just heard, we really don't know how this is all going to shake out. It is too early to get too gloomy about it, although I admire Nick's attempt to do exactly that. But I think overwhelmingly what we've heard today is about a really interesting and quite fundamental shift in thinking about the energy transition. So not really thinking about it in terms of policies or investments needed to support solar over here and wind over there and batteries over there, but really there's so much more interesting thinking going on that is collaborative, systemic, thoughtful, frankly just a lot smarter about thinking about a holistic way of thinking about the transition, so taking into account every aspect of it. And we're starting already to see consequences of that. And I thought that really the speakers who spoke about, we had several of them, starting with Chris Stark and then moving on through the day, talking about things like the way that in a country that just starts to take this sort of systemic view of the transition, like the UK, but it's not the only one, but just because we heard so much about the UK, when you do things that, things like intervening in the grid queue, the grid connection queue, to make sure that you're going to be picking the right sorts of projects and connections. You know, it's really interesting. That queue has always been seen as this sort of natural phenomenon, like a mountain or a lake, or something that you couldn't really do anything about. But actually, you can if you decide to, and that's what's going to happen here. I'm not quite sure how it's all going to work out, but anyway, it's happening. So I think, you know, the other things that we heard about were these financing initiatives that were taking place where a lot of different financiers were getting together and helping to do things like driving the solar boom in Pakistan, clean energy growth in India. Likewise, just at the company level, I really like hearing about these ideas that for whatever reason Octopus is leading in at the moment, but I wait and hope that other energy companies are going to follow suit with things like this zero bills homes, which are embarrassingly I'd never heard of until today. I didn't know it existed. I had heard of the fan club, but basically these ideas that are saying, look, you know, there are ways to do the energy transition that sell it in a way that's not just going to be supported by the public, but actively demanded by the public because it's going to be cheaper and it's going to be better. And I think that that sort of thinking really is, you know, it's super important, and we're kind of at ground zero in some ways about it. And if we weren't at ground zero, then I think the Carbon Trust wouldn't be just starting off with this green print, which is capturing a lot of what I'm trying to, in my inarticulate way, get to today. But it's quite hard to try to sum up all of the thoughts that were shared today. But I really think it's, you know, it's quite something. Very quickly, a couple of other points. Significant to think about what wasn't discussed today, at least in this room. Not much discussion about nuclear power, for example, hydrogen, carbon capture storage, biofuels. Rather, just an enormous amount of discussion about the solar, wind, battery storage, all these other mature technologies that are not only known to be proven quantities, but are continuing to get cheaper in many ways at a rapid pace. And, you know, that really is a big story of the transition. Ultimately, I guess, you know, as we know, before we came here today, the energy transition is happening at scale in one country called China, and then it's happening in advanced economies, and it's still, in terms of investment and development, still not happening at the pace it needs to, by any means, in large parts of the world. You know, it's heartening to see what is being done in terms of thinking about ways to improve that. I think it will change. It's hard to believe that you can hear so many stories about so much change as we did today and think that things are going to remain static, because I think ultimately that's the one lesson today, is that things are not going to stay static. Things are really changing, and despite everything that's happening in certain other countries, I think that that big lesson is that's going to continue. So, just like to say again, thank you to all of the speakers. Thank you to the Carbon Trust for putting this on. Thank you to all the moderators for making it such a terrific event, a real pleasure to MC. And could I make a plea for everybody to please fill out the event survey, which is on the app now, that you can get via the QR code if you still haven't downloaded it. It just helps the Trust to do these events again, and they appreciate all the feedback that they get. So now it's time for a drink. So please go and have a well-earned drink in the foyer. And I look forward to seeing you again at another function just like this, hopefully sometime very soon. Thank you very much.